the city of Lagos waits agog as all routes.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV,
24-hour news station.
Some say the past 2 weeks have seen an overwhelming improvement on the part of the Nigerian government and the ongoing war against the Boko Haram insurgents who, one way or the other, have held the Nigerian nation by the jugular. Now, just yesterday, some stories emerged as regards more victory on the side of the Nigerian government, pushing the insurgents away, taking back terrorists that once upon a time have been declared Islamic Caliphate by the Terrorist Act. But then the question we're asking this morning is if the Boko Haram known leader Ibrahim Shekau is alive or not. Of course, the Cameroonian government is saying that they fought thousands of Boko Haram members who were planning to move into their country, and while that was ongoing, they killed, of course, alleged to have killed the Boko Haram leader. But the defense headquarters is saying otherwise, that the Cameroon military did not carry any raid on Nigerian territory, as being claimed by the Francophone country. I'm joined now by two gentlemen in our live studios, Razak Olokuoba. Good morning to you, and thank you for finding time to join us.
Good evening.
Balazaka, both of them seasoned public affairs analysts. Good morning to you.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Zakar. You're from Maiduguri. I mean, I understand you schooled in Maiduguri.
In Borno State.
In Borno State. Can you please shed some light on what those border towns are? How close is Kondoga to Cameroon?
Okay. Before I do that, you see, when you talk about terrorism or insecurity, you know, or extremism, you're talking about an index that, when not checked, can destroy all macroeconomic plans and templates of a country. Kingpins, you know, or heads of insurgencies or terrorist systems, sectors, or organizations are basically celebrated names, though negatively. Okay. So when you talk about the context of Nigeria, like somebody like Shekau, I can tell you it's a highly negatively celebrated name, just like Osama bin Laden. Because if you can remember, in just the quest to make sure Osama bin Laden was tracked till he got killed, you know, in Abbottabad, President Barack Obama had to cancel his intended trip to be at the wedding of the grandson of Queen Elizabeth. A lot of people couldn't really understand, because at some point people were expecting that somebody like President Obama should have visited the UK, you know. But you see, when you are saddened with something that it's threatening virtually everything about your country, first of all, from a propagandist point of view, you know, from an indoctrination point of view, from a radical point of view, there is a need for you to really stand firm. In the case of Nigeria, the northeastern flank of the country can best be described as a flank that has basically been ravaged and destroyed by the negative and blood-sucking tendencies of vampires called insurgents, and in quote, Boko Haram. Why are we saying this? If you look at it clearly, so many things about economic activities have been destroyed and rubbished. People cannot go to farm, educational institutions are not there, human assets and properties have been destroyed. So that flank of the country has virtually been rendered what? Infertile and barren, forcing the migration or you know, invoking the general migration of people to other parts of the country and adding to the already pressure of unemployment and other issues. Border towns, when you talk about that flank of the country, I can tell you that that flank of Nigeria is almost exposed to border towns, right? They have borders with Cameroon, they have borders with Chad, they have some part of borders even when you are going towards Equatorial Guinea, you have some parts that is closely related to Niger, and so it's just complex. But because of the effect of regional positive effect of regional integration, you know, and the economic benefits of regional integration, there was a need to allow movements of what? Goods and services. But what insurgents has taught us now is this. Regional integration is one thing. Your internal security is also very important.
Well, in this particular region we're talking about, are these borders defined?
They are 100% defined. Let me now start naming them. When you go to a place like Ngomborungala, Ngomborungala is a border towards the northeastern part. When you come to a place like Konduga, Konduga on its own is not a border.
Okay.
Because when you leave Maiduguri, from Maiduguri you go to Konduga. From Konduga you go to Bama. From Bama you go to Minchika. Minchika on its own is, sorry, not Minchika, you get to Goza. You will get Goza before Minchika. Goza, it's a place you can best describe as a town that has small villages that now eventually become borders.
Okay.
And those border towns are places like Pulka, Banki, and even Marwa that you've been hearing. So when you go to such places, it's as good as you are neither in Nigeria or in Cameroon, because the ease of movement is just very simple.
It's all right. Let me just hold you there for a moment. Razak, this is not the first time that Nigeria has been at loggerheads with Cameroon as regards fighting terrorism. You recall the 480 Nigerian troops that the Nigerian military said got into Cameroon by, you know, tactical maneuver, or so to speak. This time around, on the front page of the Cameroonian newspaper, Cameroon is claiming to have killed the Boko Haram leader, while the Nigerian military is saying otherwise. What does this portend for that international integration that is needed for this war against terrorism?
There are quite a lot of things that African Union has to put in place for us to attain our aspiration of what is called that name, African Union. So many a time we have had series of clashes with the Cameroonian government. Close by is the one we have ceded, about the admission has ceded to them, which is
The
Bakassi Peninsula. So it's not a new thing. We have been running battles on matters of border issue. So the 480 soldiers that had to do a tactical maneuver according to our own Nigerian military, why the Cameroonian, see, in content and character, you should be able to define a soldier that is doing a tactical maneuver, a soldier that is deserting. So why the Cameroonian government come up with explanations that this is the attitude of a soldier that is deserting, this is how a soldier that is doing a tactical maneuver also behave, that your own soldier came to us in a manner that they are not composed, and they are disoriented, and they are disorganized. That was the description they gave us. Why our own soldiers said, no, it's a time. By the time they come back, we had what they did to all this set of soldiers. So, which is a confirmation that in actual fact, the soldiers were not doing any tactical maneuver. And for me as a civilian, from a military point of view, they might blame them. For me as a civilian, I don't blame them. If you are given insufficient weapon to fight insurgents that you know that they are grounded in terms of equipment, the next thing you do, even if there's no signal for you to retreat, the next sensible thing you do is to do what they have done. So in the military time, it might become something else, but they have done the most sensible thing. But coming back to the question that you have asked, I think our soldiers, they should up there, the tempo they have maintained now should be sustained, because the way they were coming before, they were so much military. They are playing a lot of politics with the life of our soldiers, the rank and file, and a lot of them have died. But the new posture, I don't know what has built their morale in the recent time, such that you had a number. It has happened in the past. Then that glory that we have sustained, that glory that we have gained, the insurgents came back and wiped it off again. So it has to be sustained. They are eating them hard. And what is responsible for it, I might not know. But whatever is responsible for it has to be sustained. Our military should be the last institution that should be politicized at all. And there's tremendous politics in what is happening in the island of Boko Haram at the moment. So as for me, we need more explanation. As far as Cameroonian government are concerned, if either they take the glory or they don't take the glory, they are not feeling the impact of Boko Haram. We are the one feeling the impact. The two sides give credible evidence that they killed Boko Haram. They killed Shekau. Cameroonian government showed the picture of dead Shekau, which looks exactly like the Shekau that has been boasting and been talking on tape, addressing us on the tape. But the Nigerian government, the story they also told looks credible, that they law the guy out because of his men that were captured. That you tell your man, tell Shekau that we have captured Kodunga, tell him to come and announce the capture, all this kind of story. So he was on his way, that he was armed. So that story looks credible. The picture also it looks crazy, yeah, and logical. So the picture shown by Cameroonian government, what they should do.
The picture is right there on the screen.
Yes.
From what you're seeing on that screen, you know, by your side, looks quite alike.
Yes.
But that doesn't confirm it in any way that is Shekau. But I want us to stick with this issue for a while. This idea of territorial integrity as it relates to international relations. I recall that there was a time the president of France rather, called on presidents of these neighboring countries on how they can come together and fight insurgency. Recently, we heard about a building collapse in Nigeria that involved quite a number of South Africans, and the way that relationship that prior to this time existed between both countries, the way it's deteriorating with, you know, counter claims and accusations on the front of papers. Would you say that our international relations is doing fine at this time? Does it matter who killed Shekau, whether Cameroonian soldiers or not? Should Nigeria and Cameroon should be at loggerheads at this time?
To be honest, the question of supremacy as far as who killed Shekau should be something that I would suggest be watered down now.
Okay.
Not at this time. What we should rather be more interested in is the collective fight against the monster called terrorism, right? And we should be happy if actually that coalition has succeeded in killing the kingpin. That's what we people should be interested in now. But when you look at accounts now, you know, of the two different forces of the two different countries, yes, it's good to show your dexterity and creativity, but this is not the time. We are still on, it's not yet El Dorado. We are still on the path to achieving total victory. What, like he rightly said, what people should be interested in now is that moral booster from wherever place it came. It should be sustained, and if possible, we should up the moral booster. It could have been by way of incentives. It could have been through data gathering. It could have been through a system where both sides of the continent or these countries are just getting tired. It's possible that they are seeing depletion in their total or general economic well-being, and they feel we need to confront this monster. And it's also possible that, I mean, they know it is something that when they confront, they are going to have the continent support and even worldwide support.
Okay.
So many things are actually shrouded in not really in mystery, but are a bit cloudy. But the common denominator is that they are making positive progress. I think that's what we should all hold on to.
This is not the first time that the Nigerian military is claiming to have killed Shekau. This is about the third time thereabout. As a matter of fact, the military insists as we speak now that the President Ibrahim Shekau that we've seen on videos is an imposter. Now, does it matter whether this President Shekau that we are doubting whether he's dead or not is an imposter or not? What is relevant here? Is it the fact that he's the same Shekau, or that he is relevant in leadership for insurgency in Nigeria?
Yeah, of course. What is important is that they just get the leader that is leading that process. That is what is important. If the Boko Haram, you see, they are not interested, Boko Haram are not interested in whether you believe whether it's Shekau or not. What they believe in is their cause. It is the Nigerian military or the government that is creating all this distraction for us. That's not Shekau. And we major in minor. The major thing that should attract our attention is, are we covering insurgency? Our military do have the capacity to confront them? That should be the question, and not whether the leadership. And Shekau promised that he knew he was going to die, and he said Yusuf was not weak, but his style is even less violent and less peaceful than him, until he came. But that the guy kept coming after him. His own is going to be a child's play, and it should be taken serious. So, though the loss of equipment and all the things that they suffer in the descent, just like what happened before we came here, I agree that it's a major loss to them. But you see, when you allow something to become an ideology, it becomes very difficult to get killed. The question of Biafra till tomorrow, either my Igbo brothers were defeated in the civil war or not, people still carry the banner of Biafra around till tomorrow, and they still believe in Biafra. So, I'm not comparing
civil war
Biafra to. So I'm just talking about the ideology that, if you like, do what you like. If they believe it, even if they can't practice it in the public again, they will practice and nurse the idea secretly. So also Al-Qaeda, when Osama was killed, it doesn't mean that the idea was over. What Obama did is what our guys in government will have to do. He has to call the government of Israel that you look at the profile of all the justification for all terrorists all over the world. The justification has always been the Palestine crisis, the crisis, the Gaza Strip. If you try to examine the justification for the bombing of anywhere in the world today, where they start from is that they are killing our Muslim brother in Gaza Strip. They are killing our brothers in Palestine. The Israelis are killing our brother. The Jews are killing our brother. So Obama, it almost affected the second time coming, because the Jews are the most influential lobbyist ethnic group in the world today. So it always cost him second, third time. So, but he has to draw them to talking table. Now, we have to talk about Palestine. Osama bin Laden, in his speech, he repeatedly said his brother has been killed there. People that come after him repeatedly kept saying these things. The ICI, all of them kept saying that. So also, Shekau has mentioned it over and over and over again that you stop the killing of our brother. That was when he declared ransom on the end of President Obama, that anybody that gets up is going to give him those amount of money. If you watch that clip, he also said so. That was the genesis. So you have to draw them to the table. In Nigeria, the question of insurgency is not a regional thing, but is regimented in a region. The direction our president, our government should be looking at is direction of a situation where we are going to restructure our country in such a way that ideas that comes from a particular region can be regimented and won't go beyond that region.
Okay.
And what am I saying?
We'll get there, but let's just dwell on this for a while. We'll get to getting solutions and all of that. Just hold that thought for a while. If the Nigerian military is right that the present Shekau, whether dead or alive, is an imposter, before Shekau there was a leader. I mean,
correct.
Is there a possibility of another leadership arising even after this one?
You see, first of all, you need to understand what insecurity, extremism, and terrorism is all about. When you talk about terrorism, right, you are talking about people who will adopt the weapon of indoctrination, propaganda, and radicalism, right, to make sure they use other elements like brute force to move in their ideology. That is insurgency for you. And when they adopt that, first of all, we say they use the weapon of indoctrination. Indoctrination simply means they will work on your psychology and change it. Then they will use the weapon of radicalism. When you indoctrinate somebody, by the time you make him a radical, you embolden him. He's no longer afraid of death. There are certain things he doesn't respect. He has no respect for legally constituted authority. And that's why from time to time, you will hear Shekau saying, the Constitution of Federal Republic of this is irrelevant. He will tell you, you swore to the Constitution of this. I swear to the Constitution of that. That is radicalism. You will embolden the person. Then by the time you radicalize this person now, then you use the weapon of propaganda. Propaganda simply means, yes, I indoctrinated you. Yes, I embolden you and radicalize you, but how do we spread the gospel? Then they use that word, propaganda. So when you have somebody that has come up from that angle, if you think just eliminating the head is enough, no. At that time, they permeate the society depending on whether it is based on homegrown terrorism or internationally linked or direct internationally received terrorism. But whichever way you look at it, by the time they get themselves planted on the ground, they become cancerous. The kind of propaganda, the kind of insurgency we got, like the Boko Haram, was almost becoming a malignant cancer. I'm telling you. And when something is approaching malignant stage, even if you destroy this cell, what happens? The other, as long as there is one cell of that cancer in the body, what does it do? It mutates, right? So as it stands today, yes, there is a victory, because generally everywhere, if you want to kill a snake, cut off the head. Once you cut off the head, there is every likelihood the other parts of the body may not survive.
Okay.
So generally now, yes, let's assume you kill the head. You will generally or morally incapacitate them. But the chances that the few cells, the few rascals on the ground will want to spread and mutate is possible. And that's why we are saying it's not a question of now people taking credit. We kill him here, we kill. No. Face that monster. It's very clear there is an upper hand. It is very clear that some Boko Haram members were apologetic and confessional. It's also very clear that some vehicles, like some of these Hilux trucks and other things, and APCs have been captured. Like somebody like me, I mean, we can now talk on air because some of us tried to pass suggestions, and the suggestions probably didn't get to the appropriate quarters. Like personally, I said, if you look at every clip of these insurgents, when they are coming in brand new Hilux trucks. And I said, in the course of exchanges, 1 or 2 Hilux trucks get burnt or captured. And one thing I later discovered in my analysis was I discovered no matter how you burn a car, right, the chassis number and the engine number will be available. And some of us said, some of these trucks that you have collated, why not just send this engine number and chassis number straight away to Toyota? Because Toyota is one company. Whether you assemble the vehicles in Japan, whether in Nigeria, whether in US, Toyota is Toyota. Send this chassis number and engine number straight to Toyota. And if you do that, you can fingerprint. Fingerprint means tracing back. By the time they put that, as long as that vehicle is their own, or it was manufactured by either their constituency or body, they can trace it. Then you ask these simple elementary questions. Who ordered for these trucks based on this engine and chassis number?
And then through that you can trace.
You
from hand to
fingerprint
hand.
and you come back.
Well, we've also talked about the facelessness of the Boko Haram sect, even though there was one Ibrahim Shekau that we always see on the video. With this possible death now, what level of facelessness are we entering into? And how does that impact on this war against terrorism?
Well, this kind of organization are meant to be created to be faceless. They are not supposed to have office or headquarters anywhere, even Hamas in Palestine. They are faceless to some extent, except when negotiation arise that they come out. Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, ICI. So it's not expected that it's not out of tone that they are also faceless here in Nigeria. And that is going to continue for as long as they still pursue this agenda. MEND was also faceless. But the direction we have to be looking at, because we have to properly redirect the focus of it's our duty as a media person, as a public personalist, as somebody, any Nigerians that is committed to the growth of this country, to direct the attention away from the fight between our military and our military. That let's look at it. Let's begin to look at what is the solution to the insurgency. Of course, it's military solution, but it's also it goes beyond military solution. There are other areas we have to begin to pursue, and one of it is what is the commitment of our government to solving the problem? What is the commitment of the people to solving the problem? That's Nigeria. And what is the commitment of we who are Muslims? What's our commitment to it? And it starts from being frank with each other. Saudi government came up with a pronouncement about a few days ago. The ICIC, the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda, they are not pursuing any Islamic agenda. They are simply called terrorists. Terrorists are not Muslims, and Muslims are not terrorists. So that's an indication. That's a nice one from the head of institution of Islamic all over the world. That's a nice one. Therefore, Nigerians, it took our people, our brothers, something. It took them a long time to take the bold step of learning an art of cooperation to the institution for whatever reason I might not know. And the genesis way back to 10, 15 years back when this thing was rearing the ugly head. When people wake up and start killing people, that is when the emirs, that is when the leaders in the north, the government in the north, the local government, the state government in the north, ministers, senators, that was the moment they are supposed to have put in their heads together and begin to look at the solution until it goes to a point where they don't even want to recognize people who are even their own brothers again. So they started learning a hand of cooperation to the matter too late. That's for the people. Therefore, our government, in all sectors, you know that we don't seem to trust our government in all sectors. And Boko Haram matter is not an exception. One of the reasons is what he has just mentioned. Till date, there has been no serious, except the rank and file. I give them I pity the rank and file soldiers that are dying every day, the police, the SSS, the military guys, the Navy. They are the ones that my heart goes after. They have families, and they are being deployed with a reflection of politics. As far as some of us are concerned, one of the reasons, an example, an evidence is how the soldiers that mutinied against the GOC. That's an evidence. So, outside that, the rank and file, I mean the leadership of the military, and the federal government particularly, I found one thing in looking at the right direction to solving this problem. And just like he has mentioned, forensic experts came with the American government, military that came the other time, and a lot of other facilities that are made available to them. The attitude of the Nigerian government was that these guys are not ready to fight Boko Haram. So they stayed in Ghana. So in solving this problem, all hands must be on deck. The opposition, the government, we must begin to demonstrate that we want this problem to be solved. And above all, don't let us shy away from it. Each time we mention the structure of this country, the major problem that is causing all these fundamental problems that looks unsolvable in this country is the structure of this country. Men came on board because they just are dissatisfied with the way Nigeria is being run. Boko Haram said they don't want this is a particular way they want to run their life. Of course, they have aspirations to say that, but tactics of killing people to prove a point is very wrong. And the Igbos are also nursing their Biafra agenda close to their heart. I'm a Yoruba man. I'm also not happy with the way Nigeria is being run. What I'm saying is that we want a regional autonomy for all the Yoruba states. What we want Yoruba land, we want education, or egalitarian society where you can move freely, where you can express yourself, where you can pursue your life the way you want it. This is the direction that our government is not looking at. And that is the most painful. And that's why the rest of the world take it. That's why the rest of the world are not taking our leaders serious. That's why the South African government are not taking us serious. That we lack the capacity to render correct investigation
as regards
to matter. Yes, that's why the Cameroonian government are looking at it as we have a government that lacks the capacity to combat Boko Haram because of our attitude on some of glaring issues that all over the world people know that this is your problem and our government is not looking in that direction.
I'll be back with you on that issue. But Bala, do you see any relationship existing now between the seeming victory that the Nigerian military had for the past 2 weeks and the conviction of 12 soldiers, you know, who were convicted recently for murder as regards mutiny? Do you see that possibly inspiring the Nigerian army, instilling some discipline that, you know, inspire this victory that we're talking about?
Well, no, they are completely not related, you see, because if you ask me personally, well, I've not been in the military, but I had the opportunity of being very close to the barracks because my dad was in the military, in Maiduguri, right? And but what I can tell you is this: within the military constituency, probably that was a punishable offense by firing squad. But for people like us who are outside and probably who have the opportunity of a broad horizon of reasoning and trying to tete-a-tete, I think something went wrong. And if we want to look at things from the root cause, you ask yourself fundamental questions. What we had or what we learned was that, I mean, already some of these young soldiers, right, you know, the soldiers or the men as they call them, discovered that they were not really having what it was going to take to face the firepower of the insurgents. And they said, hey, sir, we will appreciate it if you provide us with A, B, C, D. We know you are superior officers. But the superior officer says, no, 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 don't worry, move. This will be enough. And the few that volunteered and wanted to surrender their lives and wanted to die for this country, within hours, they were brought back in corpses. They were brought back dead. And that was when these few ones got upset. And what did they do? I mean, you see one thing about the human mind and the human intellect and the human biological makeup or body physiology is that within seconds, anything can happen and you begin to behave like a madman. If you are sitting like this, I'm telling you, surprisingly, and you are told that you are now a billionaire, instead of you being happy, you can die out of shock. It's the same thing if you have billions and you turn overnight and they said everything about your kingdom is gone. You can behave in an abnormal manner. But this is me, a civilian, analyzing it that way. There is every possibility that immediately they saw the corpses of their colleagues coming back. They were not ready to listen to their GOC or whoever trying to pacify them. The good thing is they didn't kill him. It's possible they even fired the shots up. It's possible they fired it at his car, but the good thing is it's on record they killed nobody. On the facelessness of insurgents, generally insurgents or extremists or whatever you call them use what we call guerrilla approach, right? Those who use guerrilla approach, guerrilla fighting is unconventional. And the thing about them, whether you see them, whether it's in Nigeria, whether in Afghanistan, whether it's in Ethiopia, whether it's in Kenya, name it, Pakistan, everywhere, they can actually be with you until the person strikes, you don't know he is part of you. They are not only guerrilla in their approach, they are chameleonic. In other words, I can wear exactly what you are wearing. I can be your twin brother. Until I hit you, you will never know I am not part of you. They are not only that, they are amoebic. In other words, if today I wear the toga that makes me look like this, and I can become identifiable, I can decide to gloss my face and wear a different look. So generally, fighting this kind of people is across the world difficult because it's not a usual conventional combat. And that's why when the facelessness, in fact, facelessness is one of the features that makes them to succeed. Because first of all, what they are doing is unconstitutional. It's against legal laws of all the countries. They don't have respect for legally constituted authority. So the only way they can succeed is to be chameleonic, is to be gorilla in their approach.
Possibly the position of the soldiers you mentioned earlier is now being confirmed with the controversies rocking the $9.3 million found on a private jet in South Africa, because the federal government is saying now that that money has been used to, was going to be used to purchase arms from a black market. When we come back after this break, we'll be looking at the international support, the dimension that we're hearing now as regards the U.S. position of not allowing Nigeria to purchase arms because of some human rights violations. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.